All right, guys, welcome to Simple Retirement Solution, part of TNL. We got a special guest this week from the SRS headquarters, Bridget Reimer. How we doing?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Now, did I say your last name right? Is it Reimer or Reimer?
Reimer, you got it right.
I was right. Look at that.
The other way.
Nice. All right, Bridget Reimer. Well, thanks for joining me today. And you guys have noticed over the past couple of weeks, we're really kind of starting this, I guess, ground level approach to SRS. We want to kind of bring it back to the basics. We had Danielle Byrne on a few weeks ago with just basic concepts. Last week we had Brad Allen on, who did a great job of breaking down how simple annuities really are. We talked about two use cases. We talked about the lifetime income rider, and then we talked about some bonus products. And each week we're going to progressively kind of get a little deeper, and hopefully you guys provide some feedback as to what you like to see and hear. So this week I decided to invite Bridget on, who runs the SRS division. I mean, way back from when it was AMS, even before it was even named anything. So Bridget's been involved in these, simple retirement solutions for about as long as we've been in business, probably even prior to that. So I figured who better to have on. So this week last week we did Annuities 101, we're going to do IULS 101. So we're going to take a good 15 minutes or so. I'm going to throw some questions at Bridget, but the goal today is really just to get you guys to understand how simple the IUL product is, a couple of use case scenarios, and then over the next few weeks, we'll talk more about selling them, what that looks like. But so welcome, Bridget, and we'll hop right into it. So if you can, if I'm a brand new agent and I were to ask you, I have no knowledge of this, and I say, hey, Bridget, what's an IUL? Talk to me about what that conversation sounds like. Yeah,
so it really is a simple product. An IUL is a life insurance contract, right? So it's already stuff you guys are selling. It just provides two benefits within one policy. So an IUL, being a life insurance contract, first and foremost provides a tax-free death benefit, just like any other type of final expense or mortgage protection insurance you're selling. The additional layer to that is a cash value account. So when you structure them, you have one monthly premium that goes to pay for two benefits in one policy. And Mike, that's simply what it is. What you do with the death benefit or the cash value might change based on the goal of the client, but really it's a life insurance contract that always provides those two buckets to go into.
Got it. So one payment, two buckets. One is essentially just cost of insurance, right?
Yep.
And
tax-free death benefit.
Yep, for your tax-free death benefit. And we've seen, like any of you guys that have been in the field and have uncovered policies, unfortunately you'll find a lot of these IULs set up improperly, I guess, right? Yep. Where it's a minimum premium. And and if you're doing a minimum premium, Bridget, that's only covering the cost of insurance, correct?
That's right. Yeah, you've dropped your premium down to pay for the one benefit, so the other one's going to suffer, right?
Right. And if they're set up that way, I mean, how long do they last typically? I know each company's a little different, but...
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how long you're going to pay, right? Yeah. So the death benefit premium, the amount of premium that goes toward the death benefit is going to increase a little bit each over time. So if you're paying one price, eventually that policy is going to lapse.
Right.
And the idea is to hopefully stop paying on them. Well, if you didn't build it right and you only paid the minimum, there's no cash value to then make that death benefit last, right? So you're going to be tied to that payment for life, forever. And eventually your cost of insurance gets to be way too much and it lapses, right? It lapses prior to age 100 for sure, right? Yeah. And probably way sooner than you would think, even if you continue to make the premium. And that's the sad part about those policies that have been built the wrong way, is you could be making your monthly premium, and by the time the cost of insurance gets to be too much, it's not enough, right? Yeah. So unless you can fork out more money, it's not going to last.
Right. I mean, and if you're setting up a client that way, you're better off just doing a term or a whole life or something out, because
that price. Yep,
absolutely.
Exactly.
And so that's not the way we set them up. We're not out there selling minimum, and, I remember so vividly, every time you'd uncover, every time someone told me, Bridget, I have a $200,000 whole life policy and it's $50 a month. I go, oh, you have an IUL, it's set up wrong, right? Yeah, and then you pull it out and it is, right? Or it's some type of UL that's set up because a lot of agents make that mistake of going, I have a whole life. And we'll talk a little about, you can structure these to cover someone for their whole life, but it's not just a whole life product, right? It has to be set up the right way. So I think we all understand the cost of insurance, and that's just like most of our products, right? It's based off of age, health, whatnot. There's simplified versions. There's some where there's some underwriting. There's non-med underwritten. So, but the key is that one bucket, if you will, when you make that payment, is cost of insurance. But where we use this to be, I guess where it becomes a retirement solution, a simpler retirement solution, is where you utilize that second bucket, right? Where it's a cash value investment. So can you speak a little bit to that bucket, what that does, how involved is that in the market, if it is at all? And then we can get into some of that tax-free benefit on the end.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. And so that's what I was going to say too. So you now know what an IUL is in its product essence, right? And then it usually goes to serve or solve three different needs, really. More death benefit, that cash accumulation you're talking about. And then I would say the third would be like a long-term care alternative, which we can go into accessing living benefits. But to hone in on that second need, which is the cash accumulation, and I would argue that's what most people are doing the IUL for, is building that correctly. So you have your minimum cost of insurance, which that's the minimum your premium has to be, right, to keep the death benefit afloat. You then are putting in an amount above and beyond that in one payment. So let's say your payment is $250 a month, right, Mike? Let's say $100 of that a month is going to pay for your death benefit. That means that extra 150 is dumping into that cash accumulation bucket, right? And so then how does that cash grow? That's where the I in the IUL stands for index, right? We're indexing that in the market. So the insurance company is buying those options on your behalf, right? So you're not directly tied to it, which is why you can't go down. Similar to annuities, what Brad was talking about last week. That indexing piece is the same for an IUL or an annuity. So if you can wrap your head around how cash accumulation builds, you've mastered both products, right? So yes, it is tied to the market, just not directly, Mike, which is why you can't lose money in an IUL. So that portion every month that's going toward that cash value is compounding and building up in the cash value.
Got it. So we got this indexed bucket. The whatever is excess, whatever's above your cost of insurance is going in there. And then like we learned last week, the index, the way it works, if the market goes up, you share in those gains. You may not get the same return, right? Market's up 50%. I don't think IULs are paying 50%. I mean, I'm sure they do pretty well. I mean, what are some of the caps that you see?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I'll clarify that. That's one major difference on an IUL versus a lot of the annuities that we sell. Is we use a lot of uncapped, is what you would call an uncapped index in the annuity world. Well, an IUL is going to have a cap, right? Because it's first and foremost a life insurance product. Right. So they have to abide by those rules and regulations. So I think our highest cap right now, Mike, is a 12%. So we have up to a 12% cap on one of our popular IULs. Got it.
Which is amazing. I mean, so the best really case scenario, you're getting 12 points. But the key is this: it's not about it's about what happens in the worst case scenario. Because in the market, the worst case scenario is you lose all your money, right? I mean, you can be up 50, you could be down 50, you could be down more than that. I mean, I remember vividly, my dad, he's passed now, but when he was getting into that retirement age, it was when 9/11 happened, he lost over half his portfolio. He had to work an additional like 5 years to try to recoup some of what he lost. But 401ks, they're not indexed. They're tied to the market, right? Up, down. Absolutely. So it's all variable, and we don't do anything variable license. So the worst case scenario in an IUL, you're just not gaining or losing. You just level off.
Exactly. Flat. Yep.
Flat.
Yep.
Zero is better than anything negative. And then the minute it starts going back up, because so in the long run, you see all these charts where index products are going to outperform the market. Statistically, look back historically, they do.
Yeah, and I think that's also in part, Mike, because you are locking in those gains as well, right? Yeah. So every year when it credits to you, you don't have to re-earn that. So the next year, if the market went negative, well, you're still at what you earned the year before, right? At least, right? So the power of the compounding and locking in of those gains, I think, is what eventually makes the indexing outpace all that. Absolutely,
that's a great point, because your money's in the market. There's no timeout. There's no stop. We don't stop. It's just wherever it's going, right? Yep. But like you said, every year you kind of freeze. Hey, you're up 10 points this year. Well, there's your 10 points. And then next year it's a whole different. So whatever happened last year or whatever's going on this year has no effect on what you earned last year.
Yep.
With the market, it's just you're free fall, And I'm not saying markets, but there's clients that, we always ask, are you an investor or saver, right? If you're an investor, then play the market, sure. But those are not our clients. If the guy goes, hey, Bridget, this is just money I'm trying to play with. I'm going to invest in, try to make the most money I can make. And if I lose it, I don't care. I'm not going to, right. I'm not going to send that to ask a specialist. It's like to just leave him alone.
Yep. Yep.
But if they go, hey, I don't want to lose any money. This is all I have. I need to make the most out of it. Okay, now we're talking. Now we have a solution. So that makes sense. So, I mean, and they're simple, right? I mean, cost of insurance, investment, anything you pay above the cost of insurance going to go in this investment. It's index. Market does well. You share in those gains. Market tanks. You level off. You're capped at. I mean, some of the best one you said goes up to 12%. There's some all around, but the big point is you're going to make some money. You're going to share when the market does well, but you're never going to lose a penny. We're not securities licensed. We don't do it. So, I mean, if any agents have them, we're not selling those types of products. We're not. I always like to say, I'm not licensed to lose you money. Like that was I always told my clients, like, what about I'm not even licensed to lose you money. It's a whole different license that I don't even want to learn how to get. I'm good. So that being said, if we can go through a little bit of use cases, right? I think one big, case and something that I do want to clear up any type of confusion is the tax-free retirement concept, right?
Yep.
Can you speak to that and what that really means? We're not saying that, you put your money in here and just, it's tax-free. No matter, there's a certain method to, and there's a reason why there's tax codes, but because I think sometimes we start talking and we start confusing clients. You can take all your money out tax-free. Well, yeah, but there's a certain method in how that works. It's not just take your cash value out, right? Then the guy who takes all his cash value out and he goes, oh crap. Yeah, now I get a tax bill. What am I doing? So there's loans, and I'll let Bridget get into that. But that's you can, let us know the numbers, but I would assume a lot of these are being written for that reason, right? Tax-free retirement.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say the majority of our focus with the IUL is creating that, financial capital, being able to build something for retirement. I'm not saying there's not times where the IUL can be powerful for maybe an older client who's doing it for the death benefit. We can solve that. But I would say majority of our cases are built for the cash accumulation, because that really is the cool feature about an IUL. Like that's the neat thing, right? And so how does that actually work? How do we get it to be tax-free? You're right. It's a very specific withdraw method, right? We can't cash out the surrender value. We can't even take a withdraw against the surrender value technically. That would classify withdraw and be taxable if there's any gains in it, right?
Yep.
The way you do it for tax-free retirement is through a very specific loophole called policy loans, right? So they're not giving so you go in, you want to start taking out $50,000 a year, right? You have a cash value, let's say it's $1 million, whatever. You're going to take out $50,000. You're not going to go process that as a withdraw, right? Give me a withdraw. On an annuity, it's a withdraw. You're taking out, it's taxable. On an IUL, we get to borrow the money. They're giving me a loan, and my collateral is that cash value, right? So there's a few moving parts there. One, you get the loan of $50,000 and you can spend it on whatever you want. That's your living expenses, right? That's what you're taking it out for. It stays in that cash value as part of your indexing, and it's a loan. So guess what? They're charging you interest for that loan, right? But it's a very low borrowing rate. I think I just looked at one, Mike, the other day from Mutual of Omaha. It's like a 3 to 4% borrowing rate, right? But if these policies are averaging 6 to 7%, it's all paying for itself. Does that make sense? So you're not actually paying the loan back. The policy was built to self-sustain. So you take out the loan, which then it's just a loan. It's not reportable income. So it doesn't become a tax burden, right? It's tax-free. And the idea is that you're simply just never going to pay back the loans, because the policy's cash value is still earning, paying the cost of that loan, the interest, right? And then the rest of the interest is still going into the cash value, which then just keeps that building. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep. So it's a loan. It's no different than, hey, you go buy a car. You got to pay car taxes, but when you get that loan for the car, you're not paying taxes on the loan. You don't have to report that as income. You just have to pay it back, right? So this is the same. You're essentially taking a loan out against your own money, right? Because you have to have the cash value to take the loan.
Yep.
And there's, like you said, there's a small interest, 3-4%. But if these are averaging 6-7%, it's taking care of itself. Exactly. So there's no tax implications to the client. And as long as you're using that method. So no, you can't just take cash value out, because that's taxable event, right? But so use the loans. And I guess, so the question that, a lot of agents or clients would have was, okay, well, do I ever have to pay it back, right? And then let's say, and we set up a lot of these, right, where we're going to illustrate at, I'm putting money into this for 20 years and then I want to retire at age 60 and here's what I'd like to withdraw monthly. and we can illustrate all that for the client,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So if I go to you and I say, Bridget, listen, I want to retire when I'm 60. I'm 30 something now, and when I turn 60, I want to retire, and at that point, I think I'm going to need 10 grand a month to live on. You can illustrate this product where you go, okay, Mike, here's your death benefit. Here's what you'll need to put in to get to that amount where that's sustainable. So we structure all that, but then I go, okay, well, I'm taking loans out, Bridget, 10 grand a month, right? 120,000 a year. What happens when I die?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's one of two things happens, right? You end up taking out so much money, which shouldn't ever be the case, where the policy cancels, basically, right? You're out of cash value. You're not paying the loans back, right? You're not paying them back, and there wasn't enough to sustain the policy. That would be a really poorly built policy,
right?
Okay. So it zeroes out. There's no policy left. As soon as that cash value disappears, right? You don't have a policy anymore, right? Because you're not paying premiums and you're not paying back the loans. So the policy simply implodes and cancels. You're out nothing. But let's say it was built right, and you are taking your policy loans and you die at age, 88, whatever. You said you started taking loans at 60 when you retired, you die at age 88. If there is still that cash value and death benefit left, your beneficiary will get the higher of the two. It's typically the death benefit, right? Because remember, this product is first and foremost a life insurance contract.
Right.
So in order to be compliant and built out and stay out of, red flag area, the death benefit's always going to be higher. Well, then it does transfer as a tax-free death benefit to your beneficiary, because remember, it's a life insurance contract first. So you don't get both. I get that question a lot.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, do I get to cash out? Does my beneficiary get the cash and the death benefit? No, it's all in one. The cash value is paying for that death benefit, right? So it's whatever the higher, which in all cases with an IUL is going to be that death benefit, because it has to be in order to follow the regulations. So tax-free death benefit, as long as there's money left. And if there's not money left, you were in trouble anyway. The policy already imploded. Yeah.
And if that was the case, I guess the worst thing would happen is you would run out of your income. You wouldn't have to pay these loans back, right? Because essentially your cash value paid back the loans. There just wasn't enough in there to sustain the policy.
Exactly. Yep.
So you don't owe these loans at the end.
Exactly. The first thing the cash value is going to do is pay the interest on the loan, right? And remember, you're borrowing against your own money. So your only debt to that insurance company is the interest. You better believe they're taking their interest first.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So the cash value is already paying the interest, and you basically cash out your own policy by not paying it back.
Got it. Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it's simple. And like you said, it's what majority of the times that you're going to use an IUL, it's going to be for that type of setup. And, there's stuff you can do for, kids or whatnot, set them up for college funding. We'll get to that on some other weeks here on the training. But I really wanted to discuss that and just break down. And I mean, that's simple. It's a life insurance product, right? At the end of the day, it's still a death benefit, tax-free death benefit. It happens to have this indexed bucket where, there's two buckets. You make your premium payment. First goes to the cost of insurance. Anything above that gets invested. And then if you want to have this tax-free benefit, you're going to take loans out. You don't essentially need to pay them back. Your cash value is going to pay back the interest or whatnot. Like you said, you pass away, odds are death benefit's going to be higher than cash value. Your beneficiary gets that. So it still has that life insurance piece to it. I mean, it's a screaming home run for a product.
Yeah, they're really cool. They really are. Yeah.
And then I guess the last thing, Bridget, you are, like I said, you run the SRS team. And I know personally you've helped me with a handful of annuities and IULs. I don't sell nearly as much of these other agents. I mean, but as I had a license forever and I had a few cases and I remember you structuring them. It was so simple for me to understand. So I guess to the agent force, when would they reach out to you? What would they reach out to you for? And what does that process look like?
Yeah, absolutely. And so an agent's job in this arena is to uncover opportunities, right? You're trying to solve the need for the client and identify what that is, right? What's their why? What's their need? We come in once the opportunity is identified, right? And the whole idea, Mike, is that, yes, there's certain ways to structure these IULs and annuities, right? I never want an agent to feel like they have to learn every single product out there, every single detail about annuities and IULs before they can offer it to their client. Because one, then they're missing out on the opportunity and the client's probably not getting that coverage.
Right.
And they might go look somewhere else for it, right? So using our team when the opportunity is identified is huge. And we do that, you mentioned already, the Ask a Specialist, right? It's a simple form that's You can access it on your ILC or the AMS website, and it gathers all the details. So basically all the fact finding you already did with your client, you're just transferring that info to me, right? You're saying, hey, Bridget, I've got this 30-year-old, Mike Sizer. We talked a little bit about building an IUL for retirement. Here's his budget. Here's his goals when he wants to retire. You already know all this info because you found it out when you were meeting with this client, right? You're simply transferring that information to us, and we're going to look at all the options, all the carriers. And that's our job here really in the SRS division, is to stay up to date on all policies, regulations, different products. What's the best product right now for cash? What's the best product for death benefit? That's our job, so that you don't have to know all of it to be able to tap into this side, right? So you submit the Ask a Specialist, and within 2 business days, my team has done all the research to look at and compare. I mean, a lot of times, Mike, I'm running 4 different illustrations to see where they stack up and what's best. That saves that agent all that time. We're doing it for you, and I'm just going to send you back the one. I'm going to send you back the one that I am comfortable with, that I have ran against all my options, and then I'm going to make sure that you know what you're selling, right? Product knowledge. What does this product mean? How did it work? How did I build it out, right? What amount am I doing for cash value versus death benefit? And this service is on the annuity side too, right? And so that's a huge benefit to you guys, where you don't have to know everything before you dive in. And past that, Mike, we'll help with everything, especially on the annuity side. I'll plug that really fast. We have an amazing annuity processing team, okay? Annuities are not life insurance. So it's a little different than what agents are used to, right? With health underwriting and qualifications. It's more financial focused. And Brad talked about that last week, right? So there are some nuances there, but our team will review those applications for you. We essentially will underwrite them for you. We have a neat feature, Mike. We have our own Firelight portal, which is a very popular e-app platform.
Yeah.
The SRS division built out our own a couple years ago. So every annuity carrier out there is on this Firelight portal. Wow. And what it does is it has the application come to my desk first, and we review it. We underwrite it, and we make sure that that client's going to qualify when it hits the carrier's door. So that way it gets approved faster. You have less pending requirements. And now we can focus on getting the money transferred. And guess what? Our team will help you with that too, right? Yeah. We have a team in our new business processing division who is very good at what they do. They know the verbiage and the lingo. They know how to get on the phone with a third-party company and ask for the right forms. We'll help that side start to finish. And so that's just a snapshot, and I think probably the most valuable resources we have to offer to agents out there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So basically, if I could sum that up, there's no reason not to ask these questions, and you can't use the excuse, I don't understand them, because even if you don't understand them, there's a whole team of people that are going to help you. The key is just, you got to ask the question. You got to uncover the money, find the need, and then we'll help you every step of the way from there, from the minute you get the info to when you finalize the solution for your client, essentially. I mean, there's no excuses. So we're removing every excuse. And I mean, I love that you said the 2 days, because sometimes I get these calls. I sent it to Ask a Specialist. I haven't heard back yet. I'm like, well, when did you send it? This morning.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You know how you don't understand annuities? Like, they're going to have to take some time to go through it too. They understand them, and it's going to take time, but you don't even just 2 days, 2 business days. So
Yes, that's our max, Mike. And we take a lot of pride in that. So all those tickets feed into a secure ticket system. Yep. So we're able to track those metrics, and we take a lot of pride in it. So I track those. Our annuity turnaround is actually closer to like 24 hours, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But we are still humans, right?
Yeah.
We get a lot of tickets, and we're excited for more. But yes, 2 business days max. Just have a little grace with us on that, right?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Bridget. I appreciate you joining us this week, and the info is great, and it really helps simplify this. So, guys, I mean, there you have it. Ask the questions, and let us know. We're going to be doing this every single week. So if there's certain things, if we said something here that you're unsure of, drop it in the comments, email me, whatever. But I want this to be interactive, because our goal this year, I've shared this with you, Bridget, I shared this here, we want to double our SRS volume. Yeah. Last year, we were a little bit under 200 million in annuities placed. And I'd love to see that number hit 400 million this year. And that's a crazy goal. I know it is, but
no, it's awesome.
I think it's doable.
We're in place to do it. And,
absolutely.
We just, fact find, ask the right questions. And there's really, like you said, no excuse not to get help with the rest.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. Thank you, Bridget. Guys, thanks for watching.